Hello and welcome to the very first episode of The Dead Speak. I am your host, DJ Deadman, and I've got a great show for you guys from more entertainment news today, but I also got one bigger piece that's a little bit closer to my heart. But until then, how about we start off with one of my favorite songs? This is Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult. That was Don't Fear the Reaper, one of my personal favorites. And yeah, welcome to the show. For those of you who just tuning in, my name is DJ Deadman, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first piece of entertainment news that I wanted to talk about today is PlayStation apparently decided to buy Bungie for, I kid you not, $3.6 billion. Billion. Like, obviously it's a big company, so that's pretty big, but yeah, this news came out this week, and for those of you in the know about this kind of stuff, it may or may not be because Microsoft decided to buy, Blizzard and Activision, plus Bethesda. All of that was pretty recent, and, I don't want to say that it was caused by it, but it's almost as if this is like retaliation. For those of you who don't know, Bungie is the company that actually worked on the original Halo games, but now they're most known for doing Destiny 1 and 2, which were two pretty big games on release, but now Destiny 2 has gone the free-to-play route, but with a lot of DLCs. So what does this exactly mean for Bungie? So like Microsoft, when they acquired both Blizzard and Activision, Sony. Oh no, it was PlayStation, my bad. Have said that they will honor any like contracts and stuff like that. So what that sounds like is they aren't going to make Destiny exclusives. But who knows how long that would last. If they do make a Destiny 3, they do have the option to do that. But would they? Honestly, I'm not sure. Mainly because, if they decide to go the free-to-play route, then they would essentially lose out on a good amount of money. Obviously, the more players they can possibly get, the better. I just saw a lot of people started following. Welcome. But as I was saying, if they decided to make Destiny a PlayStation exclusive, they're obviously going to miss out on both PC as well as Xbox. So I don't think they will make an exclusive anytime soon. Just the same way I don't think Microsoft would make, Call of Duty or Overwatch or other Blizzard games, Xbox exclusive. Same thing for Bethesda games. I know they're thinking of doing that, but I don't think it's going to happen in, the near future is what I'm trying to say. So the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit more YouTube news than anything. There's a YouTuber named Ice Poseidon. Recently, he made his own cryptocurrency called the Ice Poseidon coin. And apparently he got a lot of investors. Most of them were from his fans. I'm going to be honest with you, never really heard of him until this news came out. But apparently he got over about $500,000 in investment for this coin, but didn't come up with anything. Nothing at all. So now a lot of people are calling him a scammer. Basically that he scammed all of his fans to get $500,000. That's $500,000. I'm not sure exactly how many people invested, but that's still quite a bit of money. Quite a bit of money that is refundable, I might add. He does have the power to refund it if he chose to. But so far, he recently had an interview with another YouTube commentator who essentially accused him of stealing. He straight up said, you can give this money back, and why not? And essentially, Ice Poseidon is almost blaming his fans or those who invested, because they may not all be fans, but he's blaming those who invested, saying that, it's their responsibility to look into these kinds of things. And that kind of brought up the whole conversation about like cryptocurrencies and all that kind of stuff, that is like big right now. So many people have been recently talking about it ever since the whole,
It's going down, bro.
ever since the whole, I'm sorry, that was the assistant station manager, by the way, he's right here. I think ever since that whole GameStop craze that happened like a year and a half ago, ever since that happened, like cryptocurrencies, stocks have been like in the talks, and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. And now we're getting straight up scams with it. I mean, I don't know if this Ice Poseidon guy, like I said, didn't hear about him until I saw this. If he actually meant to make this coin, or if he knew very well that he wasn't going to. Because if he knew very well he wasn't going to, this is obviously a scam. Like there's no argument here. But I mean, if he legitimately had the intention to do that, then I mean, I guess things happen, but it should be his responsibility to return that money. But this kind of gears us towards a new kind of, it's not exactly cryptocurrency. It's something that the T with D talked about earlier today. If those of you who listened to earlier shows, NFTs, they are non-fungible tokens. Essentially, it's like these like pieces of art digitally made, and they're apparently worth a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I think it's somewhat of a scam. Mostly because this might be just lack of understanding, but I personally don't understand how they could be worth money. To me, it's almost like placing value based on individuals, as in like I look at it and I say, oh, I think it's worth $5. Someone else might say, I think this is worth $100,000, so on and so forth. To me, it doesn't make as much sense as like say something like stocks, which, you know, the price is dependent on how well or bad a company does, as well as how much the public likes said company. Cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and all that stuff. I'm not as well versed in any of this stuff, by the way. Just want to clarify that. But cryptocurrency, it also somewhat makes sense to me because, I mean, it works practically the same way that normal currency does. We all have value on like American dollars. So like it's like the same idea for cryptocurrency, I think. But NFTs, like they say that it's like for the art and stuff like that, but you know, every like NFT that I've seen, I have not seen the artist's name behind it. So I'm just there like, how can you even claim that? But you don't want to like give credit to them. So that's where we are now. Like where there's people making money off just digital things, and we're just in this awkward position where we gotta figure it out, right? But I think this kind of leads into the bigger problem where you're going to get situations like this. Because technically, anybody could make a cryptocurrency. You don't need, you know, it's not, I mean, it is still a process. Whether it's complicated, I guess, is subjective. But my point is, everyone technically has the power to create it. And now we're getting into situations where people can just straight up scam people. They could straight up just say, oh, I'm going to make a coin. It's going to be worth, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. You guys give me your money. And then they could just run off with it. And there's nothing people can do, at least now. Because Ice Poseidon, like, he's not denying that he can give it back. He's just straight up saying, like, he's going to keep it. I think at one point he even said that he was looking after himself. And, like, what does that say? I think that says a lot about how people are going on about these things. So I think we need to carefully rethink these, you know, cryptocurrencies and all that stuff. Because, I mean, this is dangerous waters here. This is almost like Ponzi scheme level stuff. I don't know if you guys know what a Ponzi scheme is, but it's essentially when you're like having investors invest in a fake product or business essentially and taking the money. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's the general idea of what a Ponzi scheme is. And we're essentially at a point where people can do that on the internet fairly simply. And to my understanding, this Ice Poseidon guy is fairly popular. So could you imagine if like bigger people did stuff like this? I mean, if a celebrity with thousands upon millions of followers could literally just say, hey, I'm making a coin. digitally. You want to invest, and then just they don't produce anything. And there's already situations like that, not necessarily with coins, but like Butch Hartman, the guy who animated the Fairy Odd Parents, he got people to like donate a Kickstarter for this like streaming service that he was going to make. This was a while back, by the way. This isn't anything new. But he was making a streaming service, and essentially he hasn't really met the requirements. He hasn't made it yet. Anyway, that's my take. Unfortunately, we have to cut to a music break, but stick around and yeah, hope you enjoy the show. This is Addicted to You by Avicii. Stay tuned. And that was Eclipse by Pink Floyd. Funny thing is, as much as I like that song, they actually recently put it in the Dune movie. Little cover, little fact for you. But yeah, for those of you who aren't into Pink Floyd, that is one of my favorite bands. Just a little fun fact. But anyway, let's move on to the next story. Now this was kind of a developing story. It had its last update a couple of days ago. It's another YouTube story. I promise this is the last one. A YouTuber named Totally Not Mark. Now, if you don't know who he is, don't worry. Let me explain him to you. He is a guy who essentially does reviews of manga as well as certain anime. He does a lot of the big ones, such as Dragon Ball, Naruto. I think he covered Bleach at one point. And he does these reviews, like he looks back at them, all that kind of stuff. About a couple before Christmas in December, he actually got hit with copyright strikes from the animation Toei. It's the company that produces the animations for Naruto, Dragon Ball, etc. These very big anime that are very popular. And he got hit with copyright strikes for 150 videos, more than that actually, essentially saying that he stole the footage and that it violated their copyright. So they not only claimed it, but they actually took it down, which was a huge chunk of his channel. If I had to give a percentage, it was almost like 80% of his content. And it was a very big deal because not only did it not break any copyright law here in the US, but it was essentially affecting this guy's livelihood. This guy was making, money off these videos, and they weren't any like pirated or anything. He didn't post any like full episodes, full movies, anything like that. They were genuine thoughts and reviews by this guy and his team on these shows. And you can tell that he was putting passion into these. Like, these weren't just lazily made, they were crafted. That would be the word I would specifically use, crafted. And he would go super in detail with these things. And he had a love for them, but the company, for whatever reason, just decided that it wasn't worth it. They thought that he was stealing their content and that he should be punished for it. So anyway, fast forward to January, we have somewhat of an update from the whole situation. Basically, he was contacted by the YouTube team saying that he got his videos back and that they were trying to sort of come up with a solution between Toei, the Japanese office, by the way, this isn't the US office, and YouTube. And apparently Toei didn't want to budge. They kept saying they legitimately thought it was copyright strike, because I'm not too versed in copyright law in Japan, but it is very different from copyright law here. And essentially they were saying it was a violation. However, YouTube, as well as this YouTuber, Totally Not Mark, is based in the US. So we have a problem here. We have a company that's using law from a completely different country, from the creator who is using the content under fair use, review. That is part of fair use. So it hasn't totally been solved yet, because this is an issue that needs to be solved. But essentially what they decided on was they're actually going to not post his videos in Japan. So whenever he posts a video, it's only going to be released in America as well as any other country except Japan, because that's technically the only laws that it was violating. So that's where it is. Not too big of a deal. I hope everything goes well. I want to do movie reviewing someday, but stuff like this kind of turns me away from it. Next up is something that just sort of took off today. Apparently, the army is kicking out. This is more serious news, by the way. This isn't entertainment. But the army is kicking out unvaccinated people who are choosing to stay unvaccinated. Now, I won't lie, the vaccination is kind of a hot topic, which it really shouldn't be. I personally don't think it should be controversial, but that's the world we live in right now. It is. And now the army is taking action on their front. So I just wanted to give a quick little thought on that. I get it. I understand that there is this thought that it's like a breach of one's rights. It's all like people who are against the vaccine see it as like the government essentially forcing them to do something. And I get it. I understand. Under normal circumstances, if this was any other situation, I would probably feel the same way. But, and here's the important but, one that I feel that everyone should understand. There comes a time when you must make sacrifices of your rights for the greater good. Right now, we are still in a pandemic. A lot of people act like we aren't, but we are. I was one of them. I had COVID literally a couple weeks ago. So I get it. But we all have to do our part. And I get it. We may not want to, but you can't just think about yourself, especially now. You know, it's not like you're home alone. There are people you affect. You know, you have your family, friends, even the general public if you go out to the stores and whatnot. So I just don't get why people see vaccinations as controversial. I don't see why we're at a point where we have to find ways to retaliate to these people. You know, any other vaccine, if you want to make the choice not to, then fine, that's your business. But for the pandemic that is affecting not just Americans, by the way, this is a worldwide pandemic. I feel like you need to think about something bigger than yourself, essentially. But yeah, that's pretty much where we are now. I'm kind of glad that the army decided to do something like this. But as time goes on, this whole topic is just getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Luckily, the valley is pretty vaccinated. Last time I checked, Hidalgo County, where I live, is at an 89% vaccination rate. 89% of residents. 89%.
That's really accurate.
So there's only 10% still not vaccinated. That's a pretty good number, I think.
You know what happened? Because we don't use masks, I think you actually pressure the people to get vaccinated. You know, so you got to feel protected in a way.
Yeah, I get it. You know, what's funny is because like my mom works with healthcare, and they actually said that if everyone in their office got vaccinated, they weren't required to wear masks. But of course, there's one person.
Oh my God.
There's one person that doesn't want to, but I mean, it is what it is. It's their choice, but it's one of those things where they kind of like ruined it for everyone.
It has to suck.
If anything else, if you get anything else from this segment, I do hope you take your precautions. I do hope that you get vaccinated.
I just got a booster.
That's true. If you're a listener from UTRGV, they're giving boosters. So at this point, you don't have an excuse.
And $100.
And $100. That's true. There's the thing that came out. For those of you who don't know, you can actually get $100 if you upload your vaccine card to the vaccine portal, and it has the booster on it. Yep. So not only are you getting boosted and you're being safer, but you're essentially getting free money.
You're not protected just only on a healthy way, on an economic way too.
Yeah, you're protected. This is what Jan said. You're not only protected virally because of the virus, but you're also getting economic protection. You're getting $100 like that. That's like 2 weeks of groceries, dude.
Yeah.
Or a week. Like that's a payment for car insurance.
Hey, it's just something for the 14th of February. You're not gonna be alone. You're gonna be like, oh, I don't have to do this.
Yeah. So please, if you haven't gotten boosted, please do. You have no reason not to. Yeah. Now I'm going to play Space Oddity from David Bowie for another music break. Space Oddity is one of my favorite songs. And next segment, we're going to talk about something I really have a lot to say about. So please stay tuned. Hello, guys, and welcome back. That was Space Oddity by David Bowie. I actually used to get confused between Space Oddity and Starman. I used to think they were the same song, but now I know. Before we get into the next story, I actually want to take a second to thank all of you. I can see through Twitch there are 5 viewers. If there are more on the Radio Effects app, hello. Unfortunately, I can't see you right now, but next show I will do better, promise. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I know a good chunk of you are my friends. Shout out to all of you. Alex, Mario, shout out to my cousin Ashley. Those are the ones that I could see through Twitch. So I do apologize if you're using the Radio Effects app, but I promise I'll see it next time. But still, thank you so much. And guys, don't be afraid to leave like comments and stuff like that, messages. I would love to see your reactions and, just kind of go back and forth. I know this is my first show, so you all didn't know that that's fine, but go ahead. Don't be afraid. Just don't put anything inappropriate.
Please.
Please. I will get fired. All right. So this next story is another kind of serious one. It's not entertainment or anything like that. And it's something that I kind of wanted to talk about because it's got something that you would think doesn't happen nowadays, but apparently it still does. In Texas, schools, high school schools specifically, or not even high schools, I think I read like just school districts, are starting to ban a lot more books. Now, there is a ban list, unfortunately, of books, and some of them are quite dumb in my opinion. Like I know one, did you know that apparently some Harry Potter books are banned?
What?
Yeah, because it's like wizardry. So, like I get how that's like somewhat against some people's religions, but again, you would think we're out of the dark ages, but we're still
there.
Yeah, we're still at a point in time where people want to ban books, and it's just super unfortunate. But a lot of Texas schools have recently been wanting to ban more books, and I have a list of just a couple, as well as their reasoning. For those of you on the Radio Effects app, I'm doing quotes with my fingers when I say that. Reasoning. For their appropriate banness. It's probably not a word, but you get my point. So the first book that I have here on the list, and there's more, by the way, this is just the ones that I decided to highlight. Mouse, spelled M-A-U-S. For those of you who don't know, you could literally search it up right now. It's essentially a book that's an allegory to the Holocaust about mice and a cat Hitler sort of thing. And it's supposed to like teach people about that horrible event, historic, horrible event that I think we should all know about, and they want to ban it.
It's because you have to know that those events are meant for you reading it so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, exactly. Like these events, the biggest reason we need to learn history is to not repeat it. And it just seems like they're kind of getting rid of that option, which to me doesn't make sense. I understand that there's an age appropriateness, right? Obviously, I don't think I would want, if I had a 6-year-old, I wouldn't want to tell them about the Holocaust. But, this isn't just like those demographics. Like these school districts have middle schools and high schools where they should be learning about this event. And they're getting rid of a book that's meant for kids that's like an allegory. Like, come on, it's a picture book. And there's no any kind of, how do I put it, depictions of actual death. Like there's not blood or dismemberment, I think. So it's just a little bit ridiculous. Ghost Boys. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not too sure what it's about, but the supposed reasoning is it makes people feel shamed based on color. I know the main character or the highlighted character in the title is of African American descent. So to me, it's like, what do you mean by that? Michelle Obama's biography.
No way.
I'm not joking with you. Michelle Obama biography. And apparently the reason is because it, quote, by the way, unfairly depicts former President Donald Trump as a bully. As well as says, if you, quote, act like a white girl. This isn't my quote, by the way. I just want to be 100% clear on that. If you act like a white girl, you should be ashamed. A biography about former First Lady Michelle Obama.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
first of all, a biography is like the way someone lived their life. If they legitimately thought that, then like, I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. That's just straight up how it is. But it's just like, why would you want to ban Michelle Obama's biography? Like, I don't think I'll read it, don't get me wrong, but it just seems silly. You know, it's like they're worrying about the wrong things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of stupid the way that they do it because, I mean, it's a biography, dang. You
Yeah,
know,
it's just,
like,
it's a biography of First Lady Michelle Obama. Like, I get it. She ruined your school lunches, but do you really need to, like, ban her biography? It's just, it's so, it's just so whack
it's
that,
dumb. It's dumb.
yeah, it's just so whack that there's people like that. The next book I have here is New Kid, which, funny enough, is actually a book I need to read for class. It's like a little comic book
Really?
about a new kid. Yeah. And supposedly, it supports critical race theory. For those of you who don't know what critical race theory is, basically, it's the supposed study of, you know, history and how race played an effect, or something like that. I could actually just pull up the definition here because I don't want to say something wrong because I don't want to give you all false information here. But it's this thing that's been going on. Like this, critical race theory is another subject that I can get into and like use a whole segment to talk about. But basically, I have the definition here according to Wikipedia, Google. Critical race theory is a cross-disciplinary intellectual and social movement of civil rights scholars and activists who seek to examine the intersection of race and law in the United States. So I do apologize. I got it wrong. It's essentially how race played a factor in laws. Now, for those of you watching, can you please explain how a comic book about a new kid coming to school promotes critical race theory or has anything to do with laws based on race? Like, come on. Regardless of what your opinions are on critical race theory, I know there's some people for it, I know there's some people against it, but regardless of what your thoughts are on it, isn't it kind of silly that you would say that a comic book promotes that? It's pretty funny.
It's a comic book.
Now, this is a book. This next book is actually, this is the actual name, How to Be an Anti-Racist. And there are parents and school boards who want to ban that. Like, do you want to look bad? Because that's how you look bad.
You know, I don't want to get into the topic, but I want to know this. I don't even know how to be racist about it though.
Like, I haven't read that book. I can't vouch for the actual content of it. But if you want to look bad in front of the public eye, it would be to ban a book called How to Be Not Anti-Racist. Or How to Be Anti-Racist. Sorry, I think I put not there by accident. How to Be Anti-Racist. And they want to ban it. Like, it doesn't get any more obvious than that. And the last book that I have here that I want to highlight is actually a poetry book. It includes a variety of poems. And my friend, her name is America. I don't know if she's watching right now, but she's the one who actually showed me this. She has it, and I've actually read some of it. It's called Milk and Honey, and it's a poetry book. Really good. It focuses on women, and they want to ban it. And unfortunately, I actually couldn't find a reason for it. Like, I saw that they wanted to get rid of it, but I couldn't see an actual reason. Like, I'm not saying there's a reason, I just don't think it's valid. Like, I legitimately couldn't find it. So I want to say take that one with a grain of salt, but if it is true and that is one of the books that they want to ban, why? It's a poetry book. It promotes women. Like, I don't see exactly how that's something that would be bannable. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about all this and why I said it was important to me is because I work as a reporter. I'm the news director here, but I promote First Amendment. You know, the right to say what you're thinking, the right to write things down, freedom of the press. You know,
Yep.
And in a way, this is like going against that, going against the whole idea of having people have the freedom of the press. Of course, we're talking about reading, but is that really any different? You know, people use the freedom of the press to write down their ideas and spread them in written form, books, or, you know, it doesn't have to be books, newspapers, magazines, even just reading online. But this is like going against the whole ideal of the First Amendment, you know? That's just how I feel. I understand that there are some cases where you don't just want someone saying whatever the heck they want. I said heck, by the way.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm not supposed to curse, so that's why I said heck. But I lost my train of thought. Basically, it goes against that whole idea. Oh, this is where I was going. I get that there's things you don't want people to say. There's the whole court trial of, it was a Supreme Court case about this where it was like, what they determined is you can't say fire in a crowded theater. It's Shinnick versus something. But what they meant by you can't shout fire in a crowded theater is that you have the right to say what you want, but not the right to say something that induces panic and causes harm. Because if you say fire in a crowded theater, everyone's going to panic. Everyone's going to squash each other. People are going to get hurt. You know, like, I don't mean to kind of just bring it up here, but like almost like what happened with Astroworld, except, you know, that was an accident. Yep. Shouting fire in a crowded theater, that isn't an accident. So, like, people are going to get crushed, hurt. So that's essentially the ruling behind, you know, the First Amendment. You have the right to say what you want, but you also can't cause a panic or harm. Now, these books that I've just listed, you know, go ahead and correct me, but how would they cause harm? How would they cause panic? You know, you have Michelle Obama's biography, which, yeah, it called former President Donald Trump a bully, and regardless of, you know, everyone has their opinions on the former president, but that's not going to cause, huh?
That's a freedom of speech.
That is freedom of speech, yeah. I mean, that's kind of, isn't that the good thing about living in America? That you have the right to think that your leader is bad? Like,
Freedom, huh?
yeah, it's freedom. Like, that's the point. So the fact that a lot of Texas schools are banning these kinds of books, like, to me, it's like you're going against that. And you're part of the U.S. whether you like it or not. Yep. So, but yeah, again, it's just one of those things like you would think that we're at a point in time where that's not happening, but it is. And it's happening right in our backyard. We're at UTRGV. We're in South Texas. I'm not saying that any of our schools are doing that, by the way. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But it's happening closer than we think, you know? And I think that's something we all need to consider because every time we hear things about this, we're like, that's like far away. You know, there's nothing to worry about. You know, it almost seems like it's not really happening. Like it's a show that's fantasy, but it's not. It's happening. And it's like,
It's here.
It's here. Anyway, that's what I have to say about it. And that's all the news for today. The next segment will be Dead Man's Choice, where I'm pretty much just going to talk about a thing that I want. And if y'all have any messages for me, I could read them out, talk about whatever y'all mention. But for now, we're going to have to go on a music break, and I'll come in for my last segment. So until then, here's Lose Yourself to Dance by Daft Punk. And we're back. Now, I know I said we were going to get Dead Man's Choice, but unfortunately, I may have ranted a little too much, and we're unfortunately out of time. But next time, I promise I'll be better. And hopefully I'll get a little more interaction. Not that I'm complaining. But yeah, this was the first episode of the Dead Man Speak series. It's been your host, DJ Deadman. Tune in for the latest entertainment news or news in general. I didn't talk about UTRGV news this time, but that's something I'm also interested in going over. But anyway, hope you all have a good day. As they said in The Truman Show, good morning, good evening, and good night.